Hey guys, so it's the month of October again and Halloween is around the corner. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to make 5 different Halloween charms: the zombie, the ghost, the candy corn, the vampire, and the pumpkin out of polymer clay. So I'll be listing all the materials you need in the description boxes down below. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna start out with the zombie. So you're just gonna roll out some green clay and flatten it slightly. And do keep in mind that the charms I'll be making in this tutorial is to the rounded size. So next, you just want to take a part out of the zombie's head. You can either use a blade or a cookie cutter, but right now I'm just gonna go with the cookie cutter because it makes the work a lot easier. So next I'm gonna take the greens and the browns of my Soft Pastel to dust on the zombie to give it a more spooky feel. So now we are gonna make the brain. So you're just gonna roll out some light pink clay into a tin snake. Then you're going to just make the brain shape. It's kind of hard to explain how to do this, but you guys can probably tell from the video. It's something like wrapping and coiling the clay around, so yeah. So now you just want to attach the brain onto the part of the zombie which you cut out. You can add some liquid clay to make sure that the brain stays in place. So now I'm going on with my kneader to define the brain. So for the face, I'm gonna use my dotting tool to make 2 indents on where the eyes should go. Then you roll out 2 small balls of clay and press it onto the zombie. For the mouth, you're just gonna roll out a really thin piece of clay and cut it out to the size that you want to attach it between the eyes. Then using a ball tool, you're just gonna make a smile or a frown. So this can be a little tricky at first, but it will get easier with time. So now for the stitches, so you're just gonna roll out a piece of clay into a snake and cut it into pieces of different lengths and just attach it to the side of the face. So to make the blood, I'm just scraping off some red soft pastels and mixing it into my Fimo Deko Gel. So you can use TLS as well, but Fimo Deko Gel will make the blood look more transparent. So then using your ball to add the blood onto the zombie, and you just got to work from the braids. So I added an eye pin before I added the blood, so and you can also add some blood on the mouth and on the braids. So now you're done with your zombie. So we're going to move on to the ghost, which is the easiest among all the 5. So you're just gonna roll out and flatten a piece of white clay like how you did for the zombie. Then pull out one of the ends carefully, and using the edge of your fingers, you just want to pull it slightly to the side so it looks like the tail of the ghost. To add on the face, I'm using the same method as what I did for the zombie. So now you're done with the ghost, so you just want to move on to your candy corn. Roll out and flatten your white, orange, and yellow clay. Then cut all the clay into thirds. Next, you just want to arrange the clay with the white on top, orange in the middle, and yellow at the bottom. After this, squeeze and press the clay to make sure that the pieces will not separate from each other. So I'm going to make this candy corn into a rounded triangle, so just press one end of the candy corn to form a rounded teardrop shape. Using the same method of how I added the face to the zombie, add the face to your candy corn and you're done. So moving on to the vampire, I'm going to use white clay for the vampire's face. Then roll out some pieces of black clay and attach it to the head of the vampire. I am going to part the vampire's hair to one side, so yeah. Then using the blade, glide along the hair to give it some texture. And after adding onto the face, I'm going to roll out a thin stick of black clay and cutting it out, next attaching it to the top of the eyes. So this is going to be the eyelashes, and using a needle too, I'm just going to define the eyelashes slightly. So also with the needle too, I indented on the bottom of the mouth to make it seem like the vampire's fangs. So I'm also be using the remaining blood from the making of the zombie, and I added it to the vampire's fangs. So now you're done with your vampire. So now moving on to the pumpkin. Roll out some orange clay, then flatten it, and I'm going to use the smooth side of my needle too and roll the tool along the pumpkin to make the ridges. So it's kind of hard to explain this as well, so you can just tell from what I'm doing from the clip. So next, after you make all the ridges, you just want to roll out some green clay and attach it to the top of the pumpkin for the pumpkin's leaves. So unlike the eyes of the other 4 charms, I'm going to flatten out 2 small pieces of triangles for the pumpkin's eyes. Then I use the same method for the mouth. Now you're done with all the 5 charms, so I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and do request for what tutorials I should do for Halloween. Bye!